Well, the Chiefs just added an intriguing running back to their practice squad today, and is one that comes with a decent amount of NFL experience, yet is still pretty young, and with McKinnon still struggling with a lingering groin issue, valuable depth is never a bad thing. So let's talk about that. The Chiefs having a Monday night game flexed out, Arrowhead boasting the highest percentage of dropped passes in the league since 2016, and much freaking more. But first, how about those? Alright, I've partnered back up with Chiefs Bids to give away another Super Bowl 57 helmet signed by the GOAT, Travis Kelce, and I'll share how you can sign up for your chance to win here in a bit, because I think I found out a reason why the Chiefs are dropping so many passes. It's because they play a lot of night games at Arrowhead, and believe it or not, Arrowhead Stadium features the most dropped passes in the entire NFL during their night games compared to any other time at any other stadium. And yes, this is real. If you look at this graph here from Data with Bliss, you can see data collected from the years 2016 to right now in 2023, and this blue dot on the top right of the graph is night games at Arrowhead and features a whopping 10% drop rate. There's no other place or time that involves more dropped passes, and while I was kind of joking earlier by using this as a valid excuse for the Chiefs leading the league in dropped passes, because that's not really why, it's still intriguing to note and further backs up what Tyreek Hill recently said about that MVS dropped pass in the Eagles game on his podcast.
My thing on that catch is, bro, like that's one of the hardest catches though. Like you gotta think about it. Moving that fast, and then like you gotta look up in them lights. That's a hard catch.
And while I don't truly know if Tyreek was being serious here or trolling, because he often says things that are hard to believe, it does seem that it's hard to catch footballs in the bright lights at Arrowhead for whatever reason. Now, speaking of Monday Night Football, you guys need to know that the first ever Monday Night Football flex was announced, and it's because nobody on the face of planet Earth wants to watch the freaking Patriots play in a primetime game. They are horrible. So bad, in fact, that even Patrick Mahomes, the greatest QB in the game and the greatest tight end in the game in Travis Kelce, couldn't save them from getting flexed out, which is why the Week 15 matchup between the Patriots and Chiefs went from being on Monday Night Football December 18th to a noon game the day prior. So the game will now take place on Sunday, December 17th at 12 p.m. Central. I personally enjoy a noon game, so this is a nice treat. Anyway, make sure to mark the change on your calendars as it's only a couple weeks away. Next up, we got to take a closer look at the Chiefs and Packers matchup, talk about a running back that was just signed to the practice squad, and more. But first, you guys need to know that Chiefs Bids is back with another partnered giveaway featuring this signed Super Bowl 57 helmet featuring Travis Kelce himself. That's right, we recently gave one of these away and it went so well that we're doing it again. More on how to win this in a moment after I remind you to make sure you check out Chiefs Bids regularly, as they update their site all the time with new Chiefs memorabilia that you can bid on, and features current players like Jerick McKinnon, Kelce, Brian Cook, among others, former players like Derek Johnson and Dwayne Bowe, as well as these newly rolled out commemorative tickets signed by various players that you can bid on. So make sure to check out the app, which is actually where you're going to want to go anyway for your chance to win this signed Super Bowl 57 Travis Kelce helmet. Just go into the bids portion of the Chiefs app, then at the top right, hit the filter option and select giveaways, and the helmet will immediately pop up for you. And if you don't want to use the app, even though it's the easiest and most preferred way, you can also click the link at the top of my description to go to their website and enter that way as well. And either way you choose, make sure you fill out your profile, including a shipping address and card info, because the winner will have to pay for shipping, which is an absolute steal for this signed helmet from Travis freaking Kelce. Oh, and you'll want to do this quickly because the winner will be selected this Sunday evening, December 3rd. All right, now the Chiefs play the Packers on Sunday Night Football in a hostile environment at Lambeau Field. On top of that, it's going to be cold as hell, featuring some rain and snow that should hopefully clear up by kickoff time. Either way, we are in for another cold one, potentially in the elements, with the Packers coming off a 2-game win streak, beating the Chargers by 3 and the Lions by 7, and Jordan Love in those 2 games has thrown for 5 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. Defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo spoke highly of Jordan Love, say he saw flashes from him even in their first matchup against him a couple years ago when Mr. Immunized himself was out on the COVID list and Jordan Love had to step in for him. However, Spags has seen a lot of progress since then with Jordan Love, noting that they also have a talented young receiver core that is playing good football right now. Their receiving leader right now is Jaden Reed, who's a rookie. Then Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson were both drafted in 2022, and they are right there under him. So That's why Spags kind of compared their receiving core to the Chiefs secondary. Lots of young guys and second-year guys who are indeed playing well. That's going to be a fun matchup to watch. Spags then switched gears to speak a bit about the guy I think maybe the off-season signings of all off-season signings for the team, and that is linebacker Drew. He got that dog in him tranquil. With Bolton out, they didn't lose anything at all as far as scheme and play calling goes with Tranquil in his stead and holding it down. He plays fast, reads plays well, and has only improved. And the fact that he can handle the volume that's been thrown at him his first year in the system speaks about how smart right here Drew is as a player. Spags then mentioned the first round pick, Felix Anudike-Uzomah, who some are starting to whisper the B word about. Bust. Not any other B word, but the word bust, because he hasn't been playing much at all. But there's a couple reasons for this. First off, he was injured for most of OTAs recovering from surgery and had to play a lot of catch up early on. And the second reason is one that Spags stated in his presser, saying that he is playing well this year, but has a competitive group in front of him in Carl Loftus, Mike Dana, Charles Omenihu, and even Chris Jones, who kicks outside from time to time. However, Spags said he is indeed comfortable with FAU having a bigger role, and if God forbid, please don't let this happen, injuries do occur on the D-line, they would plug him in there without hesitation. And speaking of no hesitation, offensive coordinator Matt Nagy commented that rookie receiver Rashee Rice is playing with less hesitation, basically faster, while having to think less, and continues to improve in his routes, especially against zone coverage, which has been a big key in Rice's usage increasing. And as he plays more and gets more reps, he's also building more trust with Patrick Mahomes. Never a bad thing. Well, he's definitely someone we need to keep eyes on for Sunday's game, because outside of Travis Kelce, Rashee has been the go-to guy for Patrick Mahomes. Nagy also spoke for a second about the offense's identity, saying the run game has improved over the last couple of weeks. The deep passing game, though, hasn't been as explosive or where they want it, but as long as they're being efficient in scoring touchdowns and really good in situational football, it's still plenty enough to get the job done. So yeah, while Mahomes is 0 for 9 and 3 interceptions on passes over 35 yards from the line of scrimmage, they have been better recently in the red zone, and last game had 0 turnovers, which is the goal for the offense moving forward. Less penalties, less turnovers, and better execution overall in situational football, and that's a freaking wrap, in my opinion. Anyway, Nagy then said the Packers defense does a lot of different things and are great at pulling from the strengths of their players. There's a lot of respect there, and with a couple of players in the secondary possibly returning this week, it's only going to help them. And if you didn't know, the Packers defense is 10th in the league in points allowed, only allowing an average of 20.4 points per game, with the Chiefs offense averaging just 22.5 points per game scored, which is actually 14th in the NFL. They were number 1 last year for context. So I'm definitely going to be watching how this battle goes, especially in the red zone, with the Chiefs being 13th in scoring touchdowns in that area this season. And the Packers defense is currently the 8th best at preventing touchdowns in the red zone. So there will definitely be a lot of pressure on Mahomes and the offense to get points up on the board, but hopefully they put Pacheco to use against a defense that has clearly struggled against the run, which should help. Either way, I do have faith that the Chiefs defense will once again play lights out. Green Bay's offense is in the bottom half of most offensive categories, including points scored per game, where they put up an average of 21 each game so far this season. Meanwhile, the Chiefs defense is goated. They are 3rd best, allowing only 16.5 points per game on average. A place where the Chiefs struggle, though, like the Packers defense, is against the run, yes, but also in the red zone. So I definitely want to keep tabs on those couple things as well, with the Chiefs defense allowing a touchdown in the red zone 56.67% of the time. But with all that being said, I'm still rolling with the Chiefs getting the freaking W this game, 23-14, and a cold one that results in the Chiefs defense stepping up big once again, and Mahomes and company doing enough to get the job done. Do you agree with me here or nah? Let me know your score predictions either way in the comments down below. And we got to move on to some new news, because the Chiefs recently added a running back to the practice squad, signing him today. That is Keaontay Ingram, a 6th round pick by the Cardinals in 2022. He's a bigger bodied guy, 6 foot tall, 221 pounds, ran a 4.5340 at the combine, and in college, he racked up over 2,700 yards and 16 touchdowns just on the ground, playing 3 years at Texas and his last with USC. And some of his strengths heading into the draft were listed as being a physical, hard-running back who always keeps his legs moving, is a pretty decent route runner, and a willing pass protector who has a nice frame to do so. Now, his time in the pros so far has been a bit underwhelming, which is why the Cardinals recently released him from the roster. But in 2022, he had 27 carries for 60 yards, which was a measly 2.2 yard per attempt average and 1 touchdown. This season, he started out battling for the RB2 spot behind James Conner and had 35 carries for 74 yards, which is sadly roughly the same average per carry as last year. And it looks like the Cardinals had seen enough and were ready to move on. And while these stats are definitely not great, I'm going to take all this info with a grain of salt because the Cardinals are a piss poor football team. They were 4-13 in 2022 and are currently 2-10 right now. Sure, some of this year's issues are because Kyler Murray just recently came back after being cleared from tearing his ACL last year, but still, I'm going to trust the Chiefs staff with this one. They clearly see something in Ingram in order to bring him into the fold, even if it's just the practice squad. Maybe they see him as someone to develop for the rest of this year and simmer into the next with the offseason and all that, because CEH is most likely moving on, and Jerick McKinnon isn't a promise to return either. This could also be the guy they use sooner rather than later, though, because while McKinnon is back practicing this week, he didn't practice yesterday, but was limited today, he's been struggling with a lingering groin issue, and Kelce could use a bit of depth in that regard, especially considering the fact that La'Mical Pirine was elevated from the practice squad for the third and final time allowed this season against the Raiders, which means the Chiefs can't activate Pirine again unless they actually add him to the active 53-man roster. Now, Deneric Prince is still around, hanging out, but I'm not sure the Chiefs feel he's ready for the bright lights just yet, as they haven't called him up at all this season. But maybe, just maybe, Prince could be the next man called up if needed from the practice squad while Ingram is learning the system and getting brought up to speed. However, the fact of the matter is Ingram has games and games of real life NFL experience while Prince still has none. So that is something of value he instantly brings to the table with his addition. And with all that being said, what do you guys think about the addition of Keaontay Ingram? Are you excited about it or more just so-so, though you do appreciate the experience he brings for a running back on the practice squad? Let me know in the comments down below. And on your way out, make sure to sign up for your chance to win that signed Super Bowl 57 helmet by Travis Kelce. And until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those?